Hey everybody, and welcome back to Frostpunk. This is a post-apocalyptic city builder in which you control a small colony of people expanding in the frozen wasteland after a pseudo-ice age has wiped out pretty much all signs of life on Earth. And I'm not gonna lie, the last time that I played this, it did not end well. I believe it ended with all of our civilians basically kicking me out. They'd had enough. They banished me into the wasteland, they sent me out to die in the frost, and it didn't go so well. And so I was planning to play the new DLC, which came out a few weeks ago now, the last autumn, which the developers were kind enough to send me a key for. However, I was ill at the time of launch, and so I figured what we do now is, to start with, we can attempt the first story here again, A New Home, kind of get re-familiarized with the game and its mechanics, and hopefully this time not be exiled from our own town, and then afterwards we can move on, maybe play a few of these intermediary scenarios, but then eventually move on to the last autumn, which I have played a little bit of, and it's quite good, so I'm looking forward to playing that again. But without further ado, let's jump in to A New Home.
We roam the still, cold world, no horizon in sight. The rulers of old, stripped of pride and glory. It feels as yesterday we were turning the wheels of progress, until the frost stopped it all, suddenly, without a warning. When tides had changed, they changed for all of us, no matter wealth or class. We've lost our world to snow, and with it, our last traces of humanity. We bid farewell to plenty. And for those who remained, came the time to adapt. We decided to leave our homes and head north. We roamed for weeks, maybe months, leaving behind all the things we once believed had made us. It was hope that pushed us forward. Slowly, step by step, we knew the cost of our journey, and we paid the price 100 times. Finally, the time has come to build the last city on Earth.
Alright, I do have a bit of a question. I think that the original people here that we are controlling did start in London, they started in England, and so I don't know quite why you would head north if things were getting colder. I feel like you would head, further south to like the equator to try and get warmer, but nevertheless, here we are, A New Home. We fled London, there it is, and crossed the sea to reach the frozen north. On the way, our convoy was hit by a blizzard and scattered. A handful of us managed to reach the site of this generator, only to find it frozen, solid, and abandoned. Why is no one here? Did any of our people survive the blizzard? Are there any others out there? Whatever we do, we should expect the worst now that the world as we know it has crumbled. We have to survive. I guess the real only explanation was that they knew where this generator was, and thus, that's why they headed north. But even then, why would you build this generator up north if you were planning on using it to survive an ice age? Anyway, fight the cold. We need to get the generator working. It provides heat and power to all other buildings. Without it, we will freeze to death. Stockpile some coal and start the generator. Okay, so right out the gate, I'm going to pause And real quick, for those who don't know, we have our resources in at the top left. We have coal, wood, steel. Those are kind of our main three, with steam cores coming in later on down the line. We also have raw food and food rations. People will preferably eat food rations, but I think if things get bad enough, people will go ahead and eat raw food to survive. At the bottom here, we have our build menu. Right now, we cannot build too much, but as we research and unlock new stuff, that should appear here in the construction tab. We also have the Book of Laws, which we'll get to in a second. We have economy. This tab kind of shows us how we're doing on all of our resources, how much coal we're gaining per day or how much we're losing per day due to generator usage and all that kind of good stuff. And then in the bottom right, we have our people. Right now, we've got 80 people in the colony. 50 of them are workers, 15 of them are engineers, and 15 of them are children. So you'll see right now, it's negative 20 degrees Celsius, which is a little cold. You know, I live in the UK, which is not the warmest place in the world, but I've never quite seen a temperature as low as negative 20 degrees Celsius. That seems incredibly cold. And so I think the first thing that we should probably do is get housing for our people. You'll see right now we have got 80 people who are homeless because there's nothing here. We have a generator, we have got a stockpile with a little bit of wood, steel, and coal, and then around the map, which is not particularly large, we've got to build our entire city inside of this, but around here we have little resource deposits. So coal, we've got iron ore deposit on the wall there, we have some steel, we also then have wood crates, which I believe we can collect for wood in the early game. Eventually we will start tearing down these like frozen over trees, but I think we need a sawmill before we can actually get that up and running. And so actually we only have 30 wood, and each house, or each tent I should say, can only house 10 people and costs 10 wood. And so it might not be a terrible idea actually to start collecting some of these resources first. And so the way that you collect early game resources is you just assign people to the piles. So for example, here is a pile of wooden crates, which will give us a total of 120 wood. All we have to do is assign a maximum of 15 workers to that pile, and now people, when we press play, will walk over, pick up the wood, bring it back to the stockpile, and thus allow us to build with it. And so I think for now, we'll go and we'll send 30 people out to get wood. We definitely also want to send people out to get coal as well. As was mentioned at the start, coal is what keeps the generator going. And so without coal, our people will get very cold very fast. And so we'll assign 15 over there as well. I think you can assign engineers to this job. You can. And so for now, I'm also going to assign 15 engineers to go and grab that coal, and then maybe also kind of our remaining 5 people to get steel as well, and then we'll hit play. Steel is not particularly useful, I don't think, in the early game, but as we progress on and kind of unlock bigger and better things, we need more and more steel as time goes on. So we can kind of assign fewer people now, but then kind of ramp up production later on down the line. A word of advice, workers needed. There is so much to do and not enough hands to do it. A quick way of addressing the problem is to put our children into work. Ooh, okay. So here is the Book of Laws, which I mentioned earlier, and as we progress on through the game, we can look at all of these different laws and contemplate whether or not to pass them. Some laws have kind of like 2 options, like the child labor law, for example. There are 2 sides to this law. There is child labor, safe jobs, which will allow us to put children to work, but they can only work in safe workplaces like the cookhouse or the hothouse, which are places where we make food. Or we can sign the child shelters law, which will basically allow us to build child shelters where people can put their children during the day, but that doesn't allow us to put children to work. Hope will rise. It will provide all children with a place to go, but we'll have to build a child shelter if we sign the law. On the other side, children will have to work in safe workplaces. Hope will fall slightly, and the child workers can be injured in accidents, but it gives us extra workers, right? It gives us an extra 15 people that we can put to work. So, of course, morally here, the child shelters seem like the way to go, and I think I did put my children in shelters in my last playthrough, and so I think I'm just going to go with child labor. Times are tough, you know? We're in a post-apocalyptic world, it's negative 20 degrees Celsius, hope will fall, but we can put our children to work and get some productivity out of them. Now, right now, things are a bit slow, because as you can see, people have to kind of drudge through the snow, which is like almost as tall as they are, to get to these wreckages. Eventually, we'll build roads and we'll kind of expand out, and as we build, you know, more buildings that produce heat, the snow kind of starts to melt, and it becomes a lot easier for them to walk around in the area that is the city. But for the time being, they do have to kind of slowly but surely push the snow aside as they move over to the wreckage here. And we can actually go ahead and speed this up a little bit. One thing that is slightly worrying is that over here in the top right, we have our day counter. Right now we're on day 1. And you'll see that on day 4, the temperature is going to drop significantly. It doesn't tell us to what temperature is going to drop, but we know that by day 4, the temperature will drop from -20 to a lower temperature. And so we need to make sure that by day 4, we have, some system in place to where our people are not going to freeze. And so let's go and start throwing these tents down. We need at least 8 tents, all of which I think we should put pretty much directly around the generator here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. It's a lot of wood. We're only down at 12 now, but we've got almost 200 coal, which is pretty good. Right now, the generator is off, and by default, we have the ability to put it onto Steam level 1. As we work through the game and unlock more research, we can move it up to level 2, 3, and 4. But right now, we can put it on level 1, which uses 6 coal, and then maybe like 6 coal an hour. I'm actually not quite sure how much coal that uses. I'm going to turn it off for now, because people who are at work, they're not doing, much around the generator. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have it on. But food, the generator hums with a reassuring warmth, but we shouldn't take it for granted. If the generator goes down, the city dies. Be mindful of coal reserves. Now, food. There'll be no city if we starve to death. Secure a new way to provide food for the cookhouses to prepare meals. All right. So up in our construction menu, under food, we have the cookhouse and the hunter's hut. So we can send out hunters every night to grab whatever living creatures are still available out in the wild. And so you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's do it. The hunter's hut, I don't think has to be particularly warm. So I don't think we need to put it like right next to the generator. I think we could put it a bit further back like this. And you'll see right now it says not adjacent to street. And so if we were to do, actually there's already a street right here, so we can just put it like there. But if we wanted to put it somewhere else, all we'd have to do is click this little button here, which allows us to build streets basically anywhere you want. You can even build them in between pre-existing buildings. So that is all good as well. The heating is off, that's fine. Discontent will rise and hope will fall, I think, while the generator is off, at least while people are at home. But as I mentioned before, people are kind of still at work right now. You may have noticed that we just kicked into free time. So by default, work shifts are 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. And so people will only work during those hours. They do work outside those hours on building. So previously everyone was at work, gathering coal and wood and steel. But now that the work day is over, they're back in the middle and they're going to build these houses to sleep in. The generator is off. People are afraid they'll freeze to death in their sleep if you don't at least turn it on for the night. Of course. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't think we have to turn the generator on. Like, it is -20, but I think with these new tents, I think people will actually be fine at -20. I don't think we need to turn it on. We could turn it on just to make people a little bit happier, but I'm kind of gonna, push the limits a little bit here. I'm going to see how people react if we just don't turn the generator on overnight, because one of the big things in this game is managing your resources. And although it's quite tempting, and even though the game has just kind of told us to put the generator on, I think it might be better for us if we just don't. Now, we have just received our first ill person, which is probably a result of the fact that they were, cold overnight at -20 degrees Celsius. But what we can do is go ahead and throw down a medical post. Again, in the inner circle of the generator where it's warm, and hopefully, heal that person back up to good health. We should also make sure we get this cookhouse down as well, which is where our children are going to work, all 15 of them, when this thing is finally done. We'll go ahead and speed up time again here. There is some good news on the horizon there. Around day 6, the temperature will rise again, which is always nice to hear. People from our convoy. With basic resources secured for now, we can try to rescue the people we left behind, build a beacon, scout Frostland, and save as many survivors from our expedition as possible. You'll need a workshop to design plans for more advanced buildings. So this is how we unlock research. We build this guy right here, the workshop, which does require 5 steel. Thankfully, we've got 23 at the top there. But once we have that, that's where we're going to assign most of our engineers, and those engineers are going to work on unlocking new things to make our colony survive just a little bit longer. Now, speaking of engineers, we do want to put them in the medical post. In fact, that's the only kind of worker that can work in the medical post. And so let's pull a few engineers off of this coal pile here. Now, you don't have to put all of the people in the medical post. You could put like 1 engineer in there to look after I think it's 5 people. Yes, you can only have 5 ill people inside of the medical post. And if you have any more than that, you'd have to build a second medical post. And so it does seem a little wasteful to have 5 engineers caring for 5 ill people. That's like 1 person caring for one person full time. But for now, we have engineers to spare, and so we'll leave them in there to heal our ill and hopefully bring them back up to good health so they can get out and start working again. We do have the ability to unlock another law. Every time you enact a law, there's kind of a cooldown timer before you can enact another law. We do have the option up here to allow children to work all jobs, which I'm probably not going to do. Children can be employed in most workplaces. Hope will fall, discontent will rise, child workers can be injured or die in accidents. So yeah, I'm probably going to stay away from that one, at least for the time being. If things get dire, we could always enact that. Emergency shifts is another one that I think I would like to kind of postpone for as long as possible. This allows us to force people to work for 24 hours, which again, might be necessary at some point, for example, to get a ton of coal if we're starting to run out, but for the time being, things are doing okay. We also have some recreational things like a pub, a fighting arena. Nothing relieves tension better than watching a few rounds of an all-out slugfest, and that would allow us to build a fighting arena for people to go to in the evening. Radical treatment, sustain life, soup and food additives. Now, I don't think we really need to sign any of these just yet, so I'm going to hold off and kind of see how things go. Like, if things get dire on the food front, we could look at food additives, we could look at making soup as opposed to, normal hearty meals. If things get bad on the worker side, we could look at employing children. It seems like a good idea to keep us as flexible as possible at the time being. Now, what is the first thing I want to do here? I want to employ 5 children at the cookhouse, and I also want to employ preferably 15 people at the hunter's hut. Now, I think what we'll probably do is pull some people off of wood, maybe like 5 from here and 5 from there, and then put 10 of them over here. You can't put engineers on the hunter's hut, so we can't pull any off that coal patch over there. I think we can afford to take 5 off of this coal patch. We are at 411 coal right now, and again, I'm not really in too much of a rush to turn the generator on. Like, I think for the time being, things are doing fine. One thing we definitely should do, though, is we should put down our first few workshops. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the way that the workshops work is that the more of them you have, the faster research will get done, but the benefits of each additional workshop are diminishing. And so each one does make it faster, but by less than the last one made it faster, if that makes sense. It's diminishing returns as you get more of them. We do have another pop-up here. Child injured at work. A child got distracted at work and has been injured. The accident was not serious and happened entirely due to the child's carelessness. Give the kid a day off or scold the kid for being careless. Ooh. Hope will fall slightly, or the child won't work for 24 hours. Hope will rise slightly. I think we can afford to give the child a day off. Part of me's thinking, I don't want to send the wrong message. Let's scold the kid and let's get people back to work. If the kid was being careless, then, maybe we should scold them to make sure the other children are also not careless. But at the same time, keeping hope as high as possible seems like a good idea, and I don't think that's going to have a knock-on effect. Hopefully, I don't think we're going to start to see, a whole horde of children who all accidentally, hurt themselves and are thus taking the day off. So I think that'll be fine in the long run. These 2 buildings are not connected to a path or a street, so we should go ahead and do that as well. They might take a little while to build here just because everybody's working, everyone's out doing their normal day job, and so they won't come and build these buildings until they're done with that, which is now. Another pop-up here. The heating is off. The generator is off, people. I'm aware, of course. But I'm not turning it on, my friends. I'm not turning it on. Right now, no one really seems to care. We do have a main objective down here, which is to build a workshop, build a beacon, and then look for the survivors. But I think for the most part, people are kind of fine. We still have 5 ill people. I don't know how long it takes for the ill to regenerate or become rejuvenated in the medical post. Hopefully not too long. I also really like how these workshops connect together when you put them next to each other. I didn't know that happened, but there's this little bit here connecting the 2. We do have now a new person who is ill and is not in a medical post. Now, I will be straight with you here. We could avoid these ill people by putting the heating on. People don't get ill when they're warm, or they get ill less frequently when they're warm. I think most people are ill due to because of the cold. But again, I think at the same time, right now, the discontent that illness is causing is not super high, and I would rather have a nice stockpile of coal going into this, day 4 massive temperature drop than, have people be a little bit warmer and have, nobody in in the hospital. We got 5 new people who are ill. All right, engineers, I need 5 of you off of this coal pile, and 5 of you are working apparently a 24-hour shift in the medical post. So maybe that's why it takes 5 of them, right? Because one person working 24 hours would be kind of insane. Maybe the 5 of them, you know, split the day and do like 5 hours each. A protective mother. A mother has refused to let her daughter go to work, afraid she'll get injured. We could look the other way this time, but others might see it as unfair. Let her have a day off, or we won't make any exceptions. Hey, I'm sorry, we won't make any exceptions. We can't have that. That is a slippery slope right there. We let that one kid have a day off, suddenly all the kids want to have a day off, and suddenly food's not being made. There we go. So we've put people in our workshop, and thus we've now unlocked the technology tree, which is split into 4 tabs: heating, exploration and industry, resources, and then food, health, and shelter. So all of these is a lot of research. All of this stuff unlocks different things. And I think the first thing that we want to unlock is the beacon, just because that's our current quest, and that allows us to start sending people out to explore new areas. Now, to do this research, they do require 20 wood and 35 steel, which right now we don't have, or at least I didn't think we had, but maybe we do have 35 steel? Maybe? Well, there you go. Do we have any more engineers? I don't think we do, right? I think we're fresh out of engineers at this point, like they're all busy doing stuff. So what I might do is I might pull 2 engineers from each medical post and put them into here to get things going a little quicker. You'll see the efficiency at the top there. The one that's full is at 100 and the one that's not full is at 80. Another exclamation mark, eh? Family torn apart. Sir, a woman came forward after we built the workshop. She said that her husband and daughter didn't reach the city with the main group, but she's sure they're still out there. She wants to join the first scout team we sent out. She urges you to hurry. We'll do what we can. That's what I'm working on. I've got the beacon on its way. Never fear, my friends. Wood crates have depleted. All right, let's assign people to these wood crates, and then let's also begin getting these wood crates as well. We have yet more wood crates. We probably should have started with these wood crates as they're much closer. Also, look at the animation on this workshop, man. That's incredible. But yeah, these ones are significantly closer than these ones. But nevertheless, we now have the beacon. So let's go ahead and throw that down if we can afford it, which we can't because we need 1 more steel. That's fine. And also, let's look at what bit of research we want to do next. So there are steam hubs, which allow you to put down basically little mini generators around your city to kind of spread the heat, because by default, the normal generator doesn't have that big of a range. Like, it can pretty much just heat up these houses here. And if you want to heat, you know, things that are further away, you have 2 options. One, you can unlock the range settings. You'll see right now we don't have any options for range, but if we go back to the tech tree and we go to heating, you'll see there's a generator power upgrade, and then there are also generator range upgrades that allow us to, you know, spread the generator's heat further and further out. But the easier way of doing it, at least in the early game, is getting a steam hub and putting that down, you know, further afield. We also have just heaters in general, which allows us to use heaters at workplaces during work hours. Each heater raises the workplace's temperature by 1 and consumes 1 coal per hour when running. So if we click on this temperature here, we'll see the temperature overlay. And you'll see right now, the reason that I'm not turning the generator on is that everywhere is livable. All of these huts are a livable temperature. Everyone's fine there. People in the workshop and in the cookhouse, or the hunter's hut even, are comfortable, so they're doing just fine. Out here in the wilderness, it's chilly, which is only this one. It's only the 3rd one down. You'll see it can get a lot colder. It can get cold, very cold, and then freezing. And so, for now, I think we're fine. We're probably not going to have people working as they are right now for much longer. And by that, I mean they're not going to be working out, you know, picking stuff up off the snow. Eventually, we're going to build a sawmill, which is an indoor job. We're going to build a coal mine, which is also an indoor job. And at that point, we can use the heaters to kind of heat those workplaces. But for now, I think faster gathering might not be a bad idea, although we could build a coal thumper, sawmill, or steelworks to kind of speed up some of that research. But I think we'll go with faster gathering, which will employ better tools and methods, allowing people to gather resources from coal piles, wood crates, and steel wreckages 15% faster, whether using gathering posts or not. Oh, of course, I completely forgot. So what we can do is over in resources, we can build a gathering post. And the gathering post allows them to collect things from more than one spot at a time. So if we were to put a gathering post here, for example, it would allow people to collect from this coal pile and this coal pile without us having to assign people to both coal piles. And so what we should probably do is put down a few of these gathering posts kind of all over the place. So we'll throw one down like here. We'll put one down I can't fit all of these in, so I think we'll put one down maybe like here to collect all these 3. And then I think for now that'll do. Once these resources have depleted, we can then look at putting a 3rd one down like here or here. But I think this is basically just all coal, which is certainly going to come in useful later on down the line. But for now, we will unemploy everybody from their current positions, so they've got time to go and build these new gathering posts. And what we should also do to make lives a little easier is build a path from our current, hub center out to the new area. And we'll do the same thing over here if we can. It does cost quite a bit of wood. We can't quite make it there. We're just like 1 wood too shy. So we'll just build like 1 away, and then when we get the wood, we can then connect that up. Let's go ahead and speed things up here to speed 3. This should make them a lot faster at, bringing that wood back, on top of the fact that they're already faster because of that research that we're about to unlock. Now, we might want to turn the generator on in a second. It really depends on how cold this gets. I know the heating is off, my friend. I don't think we're going to get that update forever. I think eventually that will stop because they're aware that we're not going to have the generator on all the time. For now, we'll assign 10 people to the gathering post, and we'll also do the same over here. I didn't know that children could work at the gathering post. Apparently that's a safe job. I would not have thought it was a safe job, but apparently it is. And I think we might go ahead and unlock the heating research next once we're done with efficiency, just so we can start to heat up these workplaces for when people are, not at home. Also, we need 1 extra person at the cookhouse, please. Again, let's speed things up here. So there's the cold. How cold is it going to get? Negative 40 degrees Celsius. So once again, if we pause and look at our city, you'll see now there are a few places that are chilly and quite a few places that are just outright cold. And so I think tonight we will turn the generator on. I hope I don't freeze to death on duty. Hopefully you won't, my friend. Hopefully you won't. The plan is that we will have heaters in the workplace as soon as possible. And then tonight we will turn the generator on. Now, right now, these 2 are too cold. This building must be at least chilly inside to work. So right now, our cookhouse and our medical posts are not working simply because they are too cold, which is of course not ideal, but we have just unlocked faster gathering. And so if we unlock heaters, which we also do not have yet because we don't have enough wood, let's assign 5 people directly to this wood pile. So now people can get it from the gathering post and directly from the wood pile. Because what we can do is, again, during the day, we don't need the generator on for everything but these 3 buildings, right? And so once we unlock heaters, what we can do is we can just individually heat these buildings as opposed to wasting, I think it's like the 6 coal per hour that it requires to run the whole generator. We can just use 3 coal an hour to heat these 3 buildings, and that should be a little bit more efficient, hopefully. Double rations for kids. In the wake of the recent child worker accident, the parents argue that we could give working children double the rations to make them stronger and help prevent injuries. Good idea, or no, we can't afford? I'm going to say that that is a good idea. Hope did rise, which is good. Right now we're on 65 rations. Our Hunter's Hut is out. They're gathering 15 rations per day. Let me take a look real quick at the economy tab and food. How are we doing on food in general? So we've got food ration gain, food ration use, raw food gain. So food ration gain was up there. Now it's down. So we kind of had a day where we cooked all of our, food rations. Now we don't have quite enough food rations. The food rations are being used quite quickly. What is the conversion rate between raw food and food rations? The cookhouse will produce 4 food rations from 2 raw food, so it's doubled. So that means that as of right now, it would seem that we're not producing enough. I can't quite see how much raw food we're getting. It says over here that we're using 80 food per day. Presumably that 15 raw food will get turned into 30 rations, and if we're using 80, that means we need significantly more food. So we'll take a look at that in a second though. But for now, frostbite. One of our people has become gravely ill due to frostbite. This will keep happening if people are forced to work in such cold. I see, or we must do something. Consider signing the radical treatment law or the sustain life law. I'll take a look. I don't think we need to sign either of them just yet. Radical treatment, we'll try everything to cure the gravely ill, from intensive surgery to amputations. The gravely ill will be treated in medical posts. Hope will rise. 30% of the gravely ill treated in medical posts will be left as amputees, and discontent will rise slightly. Or sustain life. We can't cure the gravely ill, but we can at least keep them alive. We won't risk dangerous amputations with radical treatments. The gravely ill will be kept alive, but untreated in medical posts, and hope will rise slightly. Discontent will rise slightly. The gravely ill will not be treated and remain a burden. and they'll also take up beds in medical posts. I think we've got to go with the radical treatment. I don't think we can afford to have people become ill and then just stay in medical posts forever. And so we're going to sign the radical treatment. Hope's going to rise and discontent's going to rise, but I think it needs to happen. I'll keep an eye on the food. We'll see how it goes. I feel like my calculations must be off there. If we're producing 30 food but using 80, like that's a big disparity. Maybe we need more hunter's huts, but I'm not sure. Either way, are we researching something? We're not. Oh, of course, because we needed the extra wood, which hopefully we now have. We do. So let's unlock that. And now that work time is over, I'm going to turn the generator on for the first time. We're so close to having like a full stockpile of coal. We can store, I think, like 900 total. Where's our stockpile at? There it is. Yeah, so we're 2 coal shy of a full pile of coal. And so in the face of that, let's go ahead and turn the generator on, shall we? It does take a little bit of time to warm up. It is at full warmth now. You'll see people are still chilly. They're not particularly warm. We could kick the generator into overdrive, at which point people are now in like a nice livable temperature. It does mean that we're going to burn through coal a little bit faster, and also there is this little bar right here, the stress level. If the stress level gets to 100%, then the generator will explode, so we need to make sure that we turn generator overdrive off when it's close to 100, at which point it'll start cooling down, and then eventually we can use it again. But I think we're good. I think we've kind of got through the night. Everyone's still pretty warm here. I'm going to turn off overdrive because it doesn't need to be on. Discontent did rise a little bit, but that's fine. I'm going to leave the generator on a little bit here just while we research these heaters, because I kind of want our medical posts to, not go offline. But there we go. Heaters are researched. So now we can turn the generator off, shut it down, and we can just individually turn on heaters for each of these 3 buildings that require heating. And so now these should be a little warmer. They're still chilly, which is not great, but they're not very cold. Nor are they just cold. They're just a little chilly, a little nippy, nothing too crazy. I should go ahead and throw down that last bit of road that I didn't build earlier, and we should also look at our next bit of research here. Now, you'll notice that a lot of this is grayed out. That's because we do have to unlock the different tiers. Right now, we just have kind of the base tier unlocked. If we want to unlock this next tier, we have to get the drawing boards research, which requires 50 wood, which right now we don't have. And so it might not be a bad idea to get the sawmill going, which can turn frozen trees into usable materials, producing up to 80 wood per standard work day. At the same time, I do like the idea of making our hunters better and getting more food, but I think the wood is a bit more important right now. So we'll start with this. It's only 10 wood. Shouldn't take them too long to do. Also, we can sign a new law. We do have new laws available now, like Care House. The gravely ill and amputees will be cared for at low-cost special homes. So, okay. We also have overcrowding. Our medical facilities should be fully utilized, even if we have to put patients on the floor. The capacity of a medical facility is doubled. Using the extra capacity will cause discontent. Discontent will rise slightly. That might not be a terrible idea, because right now we do have 9 people who are currently not being treated. And I don't really want to put all of our engineers, into even more of these little medical posts. And so you know what? People aren't going to like it, and discontent is going to rise. But I'm going to sign overcrowding. And hopefully people are going to be able to get treated. They are. Good. The heating is off. I'm aware, guys. I'm aware. The workday is over. I will turn the heater on. And I'll even put it into overdrive for you guys so you're nice and warm during the day here when I can. Ability conditions not met. Excuse me? Does it need to be like... oh, it's still heating up. I see. Once it gets to here, I think we'll be able to push it further. There we go. Nice. All right. This gathering post is done, so we will dismantle that building, and we'll also go ahead and build a new gathering post, maybe over here, but at the same time, maybe over... I guess there's no point in building one here. I think people might be a little faster if they're in a gathering post, but I think we'll go over here for now and start getting... Then again, we don't need the coal, right? And so I think for now, we'll just assign 15 people to the steel wreckage, and maybe a few more people to this wood pile as well. Because at 844 coal, we're actually getting pretty close to just not having enough space to hold it all. We can rectify that with a resource depot, but that's quite expensive. 40 wood and 20 steel just to hold even more coal is probably not the best idea in the world. Do we have any spare engineers? We don't. Okay, that's fine. Still one person who is ill, despite these, quite frankly, toasty conditions. We can turn these heaters off in the evening. We can also turn this one off as well because people don't work here overnight either. Kind of getting a little bit micromanagey at that point, but in fairness, probably worth it. The temperature is going to rise today, so I will turn the generator off and turn it out of overdrive. Hopefully we go back up to -20, but I wouldn't be surprised if we go to like -30 here. Yeah, so we've kind of just seen like a permanent drop. We started at 20, dipped to 40, and then back up to 30, and that's kind of a recurring pattern with Frostpunk. We have another dip at day 10. It'll probably drop to like 50 or 60, and then rise up to like 40 or 50, and then, you know, kind of slowly stagger down as we work our way through the game. For now, though, things are looking good. We don't have to put the heaters on during the day anymore because it's not, you know, quite so cold. It's now just chilly here again, as opposed to being cold enough to stop them working, which is always good. We do have 10 people not doing anything, but those 10 people are all children, so I'm not really going to bother with that too much. I think I will put down another hunter's hut. You'll see that for whatever reason, I'm not quite sure why, the hunter's hut is warm. I don't know if it has like its own inbuilt heating or something, or maybe it's just because no one's there, they're all out hunting, but nevertheless, we can put these a bit further away from the generator just because they're quite warm on their own. So we'll put one of these down like right behind the first one. We will, of course, hook that up with a path, and we do have quite a bit of wood now. Speaking of paths, we should dismantle this street just to get some wood back, given that we no longer have a resource post out there. Research is almost done. I think after this, I might start looking at the next tier of research, like this one here, unlocking drawing boards. We're very close. We're just 2 wood shy. But speaking of wood, before we run out of wood, which we're getting close, we've only got 100 left over there, we should get our first sawmill down. So these can go anywhere, basically on the map, anywhere. But it looks like it would maybe make sense to put one here. There's a little tree marker. You don't have to put it there, I don't think, but the game seems to be implying that this might be a good spot. Although I don't know, like this, if you try and build it over this, you'll see it says building here will destroy resources. But like here, it's not going to destroy any resources. And it seems like it's got a lot more wood than this one would get. And so you know what, I'm going to put it like right there. That's not going to destroy anything. It does mean we're going to have to rebuild that path that we basically just destroyed, but that's fine. We'll go out like this, connect that up. And once that's done, we can assign some people to work there and hopefully start getting 80 extra wood per day, which would be very, very nice, especially considering pretty much everything that we build right about now is made of wood. Now, I'm going to pull a few people away from this because I want these buildings to get built, especially the hunter's hut. As you'll notice, we are rather low on food. Before I deal with that, question in the middle, I am going to start the next bit of research to unlock us tier 2. And let's have a look. What have we got here? Cold homes. Captain, some of our people are concerned about the low temperatures in their homes. They quite sensibly point out that it's easy to fall ill when cold and ask you to address the problem. Let's heat some homes. You'll have to start heating 4 of the cold homes within 2 days, then keep them warm for 2 days, or keep them heated for 2 days. Let's heat all homes. You'll have to start heating 8 cold homes within 24 hours, then keep them heated for 2 days, or I won't address this right now. I will address part of this. Actually, I might as well address all of it, right? Because I think all 8 of our homes are within the same area. So if I turn the generator on for these 4, I'm going to be turning them on for these 8 anyway. So, sure, I will keep you guys warm for 2 days. Is this enough? Does this count as being warm? It says livable, right? Secure at least livable conditions in houses. That one's awkward because I don't know if we can actually get to livable. But anyway, the wisdom of crowds. Captain, when facing demands, remember this. People usually look for the quickest solution, not the best one. You don't have to agree to everything they ask for. If you fix the problem your way, it's fine. Thank you. I'll bear that in mind. So, like just then, I don't think we had to say yes to them. I think we could have said no and things would have been okay. But, unfortunately... Oh, have we done it? We've done it. Okay, so it just took a little while to get up to steam level 1. That's fine. So we can just leave the generator on for 2 days. It's not great, but we do have a large amount of coal, stockpiled, so we should be fine on that front. The sawmill here is almost done. I'll speed things up. The same is also true for our hunter's hut. It looks like I might have been right earlier in that it looks like we were not producing anywhere near enough food. Also, I'm going to pull like 5 people off here and put 5 children at the gathering post so I can put 5 more workers on the hunter's hut. We have the children. We might as well put them to work. We also need 10 people over here. You know what? the gathering is going to be 100% children. And over here, we're going to have 5 more workers working on that. We kind of need more people. And I guess that's where the beacon comes in. If we get the beacon down, we can start sending people out. And I believe we have a possibility to find, you know, survivors, people out there who we can bring back, put to work, and then use towards expanding our city even further. But I think for now, guys, we've got a pretty good starting city underway. I think things are doing pretty well. We've got a lot of coal, which is good. That's kind of the main, you know, problem we're going to run into in the game, is not having enough coal. So right now, having a ton of coal is real nice. Our sawmill could be doing better. It's only producing 3.2 an hour, which is not the max. It's only at 40% efficiency right now due to a lack of workers, but I don't really think there's much that we can do about that. I'm not really sure where... Oh, we've got so many people working on steel, you fool. Take like 10 of those off, put 5 over here, and then... we can put some more back, I guess. I didn't realize we had so many people working on steel. It was just out of frame, and I didn't really notice it. We've got 153 steel as well. Oh my goodness. We do have a new law that we could enact, but I think for now, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's episode there. We've got a little bit of research going. We're hopefully going to see more food in the next episode, and hopefully also get some more renewable resources up and running as well. But for now, guys, as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more Frostpunk in the future, go ahead and hit that like button. It really does help out a lot. Leave a comment down below, subscribe if you're new here to get notified as soon as new videos go live. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.